been in the danger zone.
Hello, you beautiful bastards, and welcome to the Ninth Ever Danger Zone podcast. I am your host, Daniel Kelly, and I'd like to thank you for joining us for what will be a packed show this week. I'm joined by the minions again. Firstly, we've got the Himp there is, the Himp there was, and the Himp there ever will be, Himpy.
Oh, thank you very much. Hello.
And of course, Mr. Ryan Palmer.
Hello. So let's dive in now and discuss the events of Raw. Let's talk about the whole Punk Taker Kane situation on Raw. This was heavily influenced by the death of the tragic death of Paul Bearer. How did we feel about them having them include Paul Bearer's death in the storyline?
It was predictable for me. Obviously, you don't want to see it, but I did have a feeling that we were going to see it this week. I think when Taker came out at the start of the show and did his pose with the picture in the background and the urn in the ring, I thought it would have been perfect if they'd have cut it there, say played the Raw intro or something, the opening titles, and then cut to Punk with the lights back on. I think that would have been a way of having Punk interact with Taker straight away and keep, your morals.
I think it was the perfect opportunity for them to get heat on Punk, to be honest. I don't think they were going to pass on that opportunity. I think when Undertaker was in the ring and obviously the tribute was on the Titantron, there was a massive sort of delay, and I could just see it. You could just see it coming for me, that Punk was going to come out at that point. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I didn't particularly like it, but I don't think Paul Bearer would.
Sorry, go on.
No, I don't think Paul Bearer would have actually minded it, to be honest.
That's what a lot of tweets were saying from people that knew him personally. So
yeah, I understand that, but I don't. Even though he wouldn't have minded it, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I mean, just because he wouldn't mind it. I mean, this is a guy who's like a legendary manager, and I would have thought, as the McMahons, you'd want to like honour him in a classy way, and not use it to further a storyline which didn't even really work. I mean, I don't understand why people would be angry at Punk for doing it, because he's been told to do it. So, I mean, I don't understand how people look at it that way. I suppose people get lost in it, but I think the heat of it came more from them being angry that it happened, rather than them being particularly angry at Punk. I mean, maybe at that moment it is, but I mean, it's not going to last, that they're going to be thinking, oh, well, that Punk, what a bastard for interrupting.
I do agree, but on the other hand, it's twice he's done it now. He's done it to Jerry Lawler, and now he's done it to Paul Bearer.
Yeah.
And he's got the stand on backstage to be able to say, no, I'm not doing that.
Maybe.
I think a little bit more blame on Punk's behalf is probably justified. But I think that when you say it doesn't get him heat, I think it's a little bit inaccurate, because when the music hit, the boos and the reaction was probably the loudest thing we heard on the whole show.
Yeah, but that's just for that moment.
Shock.
I think
it's a shock value, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah,
you're right.
It's like, because that would have been. I mean, this is a lot worse than the Lawler one, because I mean Lawler was alive still. But yeah, I think it's not. I don't know. If I was McMahon's, I would never do this, because I don't think it's the best way to do it. I mean, I think they're trying to be edgy, and it's not edgy. It's not like the Attitude Era. It's just, I don't think it's what they should be doing to, a character that was beloved by, the fans, kind of thing.
The feud would have had enough going for it without this being involved. It's the Undertaker versus Punk at WrestleMania.
It'll be forgotten next week. It won't even be talked about next week. So it's just stupid. I mean, that would have been a lovely moment. Like at the end, had Taker and Kane there, and it's a great moment that fans can look on, like as the end of Paul Bearer in WWE kind of thing. I don't know.
If they'd have just cut to or faded to black when Kane and Taker did the pose at the end, it would have been one of the moments which you'd have seen on DVD compilations as the best moments in history for years and years to come.
Yeah.
I still think we might get that moment at Mania, though. I think they might. I'm expecting Undertaker to win, and I think they might do the Aaron segment again, just to
that'd be
close
good.
that out.
Yeah.
But let's not forget, though, that they would have had to have ran this past Undertaker first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He would have had
absolutely.
to agree to it. So
I read somewhere online yesterday that two of his sons were backstage.
Yeah.
So obviously they agreed to it as well. So maybe we're looking into it a little bit too much.
I think we are. I think you don't have to make too much of this, I don't think.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I guess. Okay. Well, let's move on to the Triple H Lesnar feud. That was continued with Lesnar, F5, and the New Age Outlaws, who were in a match at the time. So Heyman revealed that Lesnar will face Triple H at WrestleMania, but only if they can name the stipulations, and Trips signs the contract for the match before hearing what the demands are. So Heyman said stipulations here, so it seems like there will be more than one. What do you guys think they'll be?
There'll definitely be a stipulation where they can brawl more. There'll be something like a street fight or something Falls Count anyway. Probably not as basic as that, but it will be based around an extreme sort of factor to the match, I think.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that'll definitely make the match as good as it can be.
I think it'll make it a little bit similar to SummerSlam, though.
Well, was that a no DQ match?
I know, but it was a brawl where they used, the table and...
Yeah,
did Triple H get the sledgehammer? I think he did, didn't he? No?
I'm not sure. I was thinking it'd make it more like how Triple H and Taker was at Mania without the Hell in a Cell, which didn't really play a major factor in it anyway. I mean, I don't know, with Triple H, he's always had his best matches in street fight settings, I think.
Absolutely.
Easily. I mean, I think, it's a blessing that they have that. So I think, the first, one stipulation, there'll be two stipulations probably. The first one will probably be like the type of match, no disqualification, street fight kind of thing. And then the worrying thing is what the next one will be. If Triple H loses, he has to retire, then I will be so deflated. Because it's obviously signpost the result, and therefore ruin any ambiguity of the result. And it's just because Triple H isn't retiring. So I hope they will not do this.
Could be something involving Heyman, maybe. If Lesnar wins, Heyman has control of Raw or whatever.
Yeah, it becomes the permanent GM. That would be really good, because you could see that going either way.
Yeah.
That's what I hate with stipulations. They put something in there, and it's too obvious then who is going to win. With one, with the streak already on the line and that not going to be broken, I think it'd be really disappointing if they go and do another one, which is going to be obviously not seeing Triple H retire. So, yeah, we'll see with that. All right, let's move on. It seems certain now that there'll be a Shield versus Big Show alternate Sheamus match at Mania. It's not been announced, but I can't see him going any other way with this. I will be looking forward to seeing it, given the great matches the Shield have already had, and we saw on Raw an impressive triple powerbomb on Big Show by the Shield, which was very good. And Sheamus and Orton also had a match against the Road Scholars on that match on Raw, and they got very good reactions together. Would we like to see more top guys being put together to bolster the tag division, to give them a break from world title scenes?
Yes and no. I see where you're coming from, but I don't think that's really the aim, to be honest, anyway. I think Sheamus and Orton aren't going to tag regularly. I think they'll have their match at Mania, and then that could be it for what we see from them, to be honest. But I do like your thinking. Whereas in years gone by, historically you have had, proper big name combos hold the tag titles.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
Think about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a nice thing to do. I mean, I don't think they're going to do this with Sheamus and Orton after Mania, but I think it's nice. I mean, it's something that they usually do in Japan. Because they don't a lot of Japanese companies don't have, like I say, an IC title or a secondary titles.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the bigger guys will go into tag matches. Like in All Japan in the 90s, they had like Masawa and Kenta Kobashi. They had kind of they would team. Well, they would have teammates and they would team together and win titles when they weren't in the the Triple Crown contention for that or something like that. So I think it'd be interesting. It'd be nice to get certain people out of the way for a little bit, and if you bolster the tag division, have some like tag teams in there that you're going to keep, and then rotate in like teams of like main eventers sometimes, and put them on the same level as a tag team. They don't have to be there for long.
No.
And it's just alliances. Some alliances, like you'll have like some certain baby faces will team together sometimes, and I think it just creates variety. And you don't get bogged down with the same main events all the time. Gives other people a chance. So I suppose there'll be a lot of people who wouldn't be into that kind of thing. But
you could argue that Kane and Bryan are really the first team to start the movement, if you're looking at it like that. Because they're two top of the card guys at the time when they got, well, not at the time, but they'd just come off top card runs when they got put together. So
yeah, hopefully. So I'd kind of like to see something like that. I don't think we will, but because they don't care about the tag team scene. So, but it'd be nice. Okay. So one of the only good things about this week's Raw, I thought, was Dolph Ziggler versus Daniel Bryan. Dolph Ziggler beat Bryan here. It seems like Bryan is the only man it seems he is allowed to beat at the moment. What did you guys think of the match?
I thought it was a great TV match.
Yes, absolutely.
Rivaling any TV match we've seen so far this year, I think. Well, maybe not Cena and Punk from the other week, but it was better than your average Raw match, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we always complain a lot by them repeating the same matches on TV. I could watch these two wrestle every week and be happy with it, to be honest.
I agree. It could have slotted in on any pay-per-view, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
It's that good.
I think they've had about 5 singles matches now.
Probably about that, yeah.
And they've all been excellent. They had like a 3-match series, I think, like over a couple of weeks, which Bryan won them all, and they were incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was very good. It looks as if Team Hell No might not be breaking up right now. I think on like the UK tours, promotional stuff for that after Mania, they've got them tagging together for like maybe even the titles. I'm not sure, but they've got them tagging announced. I mean, I suppose that can be changed, but I mean, even how Raw is going, it doesn't look like they might actually be breaking up now. Could we see Hell No possibly versus Ziggler and Big E for the tag titles at Mania, considering they seem to have started a little bit of a storyline here?
Yeah, maybe. I think, but I wouldn't look too much into Team Hell No's breakup this week, because maybe they just put it on hold to give Kane the rub in the bearer spot this week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To just give him this week to play on Bearer's death, and which we all wanted to see anyway, and maybe we'll see next week what's going to happen with Team Hell No. But I do think your idea of Ziggler and Big E versus Hell No wouldn't be the best use of Bryan and Ziggler, to be honest, at Mania.
Wish it was just them two in a match.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a group of guys that are quite up in the air at the minute for Mania matches, so there's no real concrete plan for any of them.
There's a lot of people that are up in the air for Mania matches.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only reason I think about it, because they had that whole promo, was it on SmackDown or Raw? I can't remember last week, where AJ and Bryan were talking.
That was SmackDown.
That was SmackDown, yeah. And I mean, that seemed to, with this match, seemed to spark on a storyline, maybe. I mean, because, I don't know, Big E did interfere in this match and cost Bryan the win. So it seems, I mean, if Hell No do stay together at Mania, I can't see anyone else but Ziggler and Big E tagging against them. I mean, there's no other tag teams that it looks like anywhere near going to challenge for it.
Maybe Road Scholars and the Outlaws possibly involved somehow in a multi-team match.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. But I think Ziggler and Big E have had matches on house shows with them. So maybe we'll see of that. I mean,
Big E's outfit is bordering on pornographic. It's absolutely sickening, the sight of seeing his back in that wrestling garb. Shocking.
There me.
Anyway.
All right, let's talk about the highlight reel segment from Raw. We probably wouldn't talk about an inconsequential segment like this usually, but this was so bad that Vince fed Cole lines to trash it whilst it was going on, even though one of his golden boys, Miz, was in it. So next week we've got Barrett versus Miz versus Jericho for the IC strap. Who do we feel will win this and most likely go on to defend the belt at Mania?
It could. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it could go to any of the people in the match. I think with Barrett, you could see him retain. I thought when the segment started that it was eventually going to build to a triple threat at Mania.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not looking that way. It could still be, though, if there's a screwy finish next week.
Yeah, possibly. My gut reaction was I think Jericho's going to win. I think he'll get his 10th title reign with the IC title. And then probably, I don't know, probably face Barrett again in like a rematch. I mean, they have history and they never really did have a feud before. So, I mean, it doesn't look like Jericho's going to be in a bigger match, really. They don't seem to want.
I'm really disappointed by that.
Yeah.
Considering the state of the IC title these days, I'm really disappointed he's ended up in this situation. But
that's probably the aim, though, to get a little bit of prestige back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
A similar role to what he took on in 2009 in the series with Rey Mysterio, wasn't it? The IC belt was in the trash, and him and Rey Mysterio elevated it again.
Yeah, I do.
It was up there, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't really a big match Jericho can be in, so I think with Barrett like flopping as the IC champion, I think I'm kind of okay with him putting on Jericho maybe, and then that elevates it for the Mania. I'd look forward to this match more than the world title one. I'd rather this for the world title, to be honest, if it was like Jericho Barrett. Even though I'm not a big Barrett fan, really, in the ring. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, could be completely wrong. Could be Barrett wins and then moves on to something else. But yeah, I'm starting to feel that Barrett, they're cooling on him a little bit. And I'm not that surprised, really.
Him and Cesaro are basically jobbers with belts, basically.
That's terrible. It's disheartening to see. You just wonder what they're thinking sometimes. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, surely anyone can see you shouldn't be jobbing out your undercard champions. It makes no sense.
There's a number of guys on the roster lower than them two that could do a job every week.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can think of is they're trying to fit them on TV, and they'll only have time to put them on in a losing capacity. And they're doing that anyway.
Better off not having them on TV.
Exactly. They could have one of them on Raw, like they should, and one on SmackDown. Not try to. I don't understand why they're trying to cram all the champions onto Raw. This doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, you could kind of stomach the brand split of the WWE and World Champion if they're on separate shows. But I mean, it's the World Championship's just like now a slightly undercard world title on Raw as well. It baffles me.
The world title is playing the role of the Intercontinental title used to do.
Yeah, have all the wrestlers be able to be free between Raw and SmackDown, but just keep the world champion on SmackDown. I mean, if you only want it because you want to be able to defend each on house shows, then keep him as the face of that show. It just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Right, so what were our overall thoughts on Raw this week?
I thought it was a decent show. I thought it's one of the better Raws we've seen for a while. I think it advanced a lot of the Mania storylines. The picture's a little bit clearer now. It had a great match. It had a couple of decent angles. I think it was all right.
Special mention to the Rhodes Scholars promo. That was excellent.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
I think the show suffered a bit from the lack of Rock, Cena, Triple H, but obviously there were circumstances as to why they didn't or couldn't appear.
Yeah.
But it was okay. It had its moments.
I definitely think they missed Cena, probably in particular, really, as well as Rock, and it felt very thin. It didn't feel like I had the constant like inkling, is this it kind of thing, or it just wasn't much going on. Apart from Bryan, Ziggler, and I thought Lesnar did great. I mean, that's always exciting to see him, but I thought this particularly hard to get through this week. Not enjoyable. But yeah. So Dan, did you think Michael Cole looked like a bloated version of any other ex-WWE employees on this week's Raw?
It's funny you should say that, Ryan. I thought, is that Michael Cole wearing glasses, or did Todd Grisham suddenly get fat? Duet courtesy of esteemed radio presenter and wrestling talk show host Joel Ross.
Okay, swiftly moving on. Let's move away from WWE and focus on TNA and their Lockdown pay-per-view. Before we talk about the pay-per-view itself, I want to say that this pay-per-view had a lot more anticipation for me due to them cutting down their yearly pay-per-views. So well done to TNA on that front, I guess. I really did want to like Lockdown. I really did. But what I didn't like will most likely not be what people would expect. But yeah, I was... Well, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute.
I agree what you're saying, that the less pay-per-views equals more build and more anticipation, but 2 or 3 of the matches had no build whatsoever.
Yeah.
And they've had 2 months to build since Genesis. And
yeah.
At least the first hour felt like a below average impact for me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll get into that in a bit, but there was a lot of matches that you were like, what? This is, this is supposed to be their second biggest pay-per-view, and yeah, okay. So obviously the big news is that Bully Ray is the new TNA World Champion, and that he was revealed as the president of Aces and Eights. Thoughts?
The best part of this match is when Jeff Hardy walked into the cameraman at the start. He did his silly eyes shut thing, with the face paint, and he didn't realise that there was a cameraman there, and he just walked straight into him. But anyway, I think it's probably a bit kind to call it an average match. It was all right, but it wasn't anywhere near what a main event in the second biggest pay-per-view of the year should be. But the reason it existed, the final angle, I thought it was pretty well done. I know it's predictable, but I'm glad Bully Ray's back as a heel, because that's, he's a bully.
His face run has been good, but his best work is as a heel, isn't it? It's been
exactly.
His heel work was excellent, so
yeah,
I think he was the best fit for the reveal. To be honest, gives a little bit more credibility to a lacking stable, if you like.
Yeah,
I like the trash throwing at the end. That was quite substantial. Obviously, there's a few.
If you believe internet reports, it was a little bit staged, but anyway, it did look good.
I quite believe it was staged, but yeah, it added
ropes slippery, and Bully Ray slipped off the ropes at the end.
That's right, yeah. But it added to it. So
yeah,
I thought it was a decent payoff in the end.
Yeah, with the actual heel turn on that, I, like many, expected it to happen, but I don't see that as a negative really. This was obviously something they had planned since at least the Bully and Brooke storyline started, so it was fairly. It's a fairly logical storyline there, that they had a goal from the start. I don't want to start slagging it off because I don't care about the Aces and Eights storyline, but I think having Bully Ray as the leader, like you say, is the best thing they can do right now with this. It's a new guy on top with a world title, which he's never had before.
It's a deserved run for Bully Ray.
Yeah, definitely. And if nothing else, I'm going to be looking forward to his promos, because they should be gold. So yeah, I don't really have a problem with a main event. It was, like you said, it wasn't great. It was okay, but I mean, it's a storyline match kind of thing. It's not. It's hard to look at it in a way in terms of you're expecting a classic, because everyone knew there was going to be like run-ins and things, and I suppose you can let it off for that, because I mean, it had to happen, I guess. So yeah.
One thing going forward with the Bully Ray storyline, I just hope that this doesn't result in a Hogan versus Bully match somewhere down the line.
Oh, that's my nightmare.
Yeah. If you in the review that will shortly be up on the Danger Zone website, as a plug for you, I've mentioned that Hogan recently said in interviews that he'd like a run with the world title. So, you know,
yeah,
you know what that means.
I bet I'm expecting it, to be honest. I mean, because it is going to be now really personal with Bully and Hogan. So
I'd rather see Brooke versus Bully.
Yeah. Right, let's talk about the other bigger match on the lockdown card, the Lethal Lockdown match. What do you guys think of it?
I liked the last 5 minutes when everyone was in the ring.
Yeah.
I thought the match was dragging until that point.
Yeah. I thought it was very poor. Not a fan of this at all. Thought it was very dull. After the third guy and each team came in, the match became like really tedious. Too many bodies in the ring with no room to do anything. But yeah, the last, the Tower of Doom spot and the elbow drop was nice. But yeah, very, very disappointed in this match, to be honest. Everyone looked so limited by the amount of people in there, and it just, I don't know, just didn't work for me.
I know Lethal Lockdown, has a structure which it normally keeps to, but having the heels come in, so it was always they had the man advantage. It hurts the match sometimes because it's by the numbers, because you've got 2 minutes of faces on top, then you've got 2 minutes of heels back on top, and it's the same story for the first sort of 15 minutes. Yeah. It's the same period of the match every time, basically, with another man involved.
Right, let's move on again. What was the match of the night for each of you?
I would say the tag team title match.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Yeah, and so would I. I thought that was excellent.
It was good.
So, yeah, very, very pleased with that
Slight
match.
Grievance with it was that there was a little bit too much Chavo and Hernandez. It seemed to be, until the finishing straight, either of them two were always in the ring.
Yeah, if only they weren't in the match, to be honest. Then it was amazing.
I thought it summed up Chavo's sort of TNA run when, in his home state, as he was leaving the ring, they all started chanting Eddie. That's his hometown.
Yeah. Oh dear.
But it was a good match.
For a 3-team match, wouldn't you like to see 3 guys in the ring at the start instead of 2?
Yeah,
shouldn't it be like that all the way through instead of one team being out of it all the time? I don't know what you think about that, but
I do like your thinking, Himpy, where you could only tag in your partner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point.
And just to have a member of each team in the ring continuously, just.
You don't see that very often either, do you?
Yeah.
That's a good improvement.
Booking is a new item this week.
Right. Let's very quickly just run down the other matches. Kick off the show, we had the X Division match, which I thought was quite fun. The only problem really is at times they all had to wait in really fake-looking positions, like bending over for a minute while someone had to then do a rather extravagant move.
You're still talking about wrestling?
Yeah. And back to the wrestling. There was like sometimes when they were draped over the ropes, like they would touch the ground for like too long just so someone could do some kind of flippy move and give
them a lot of setup.
Yeah,
spots.
It just a little of that's fine, but it was like quite a lot of it. But I mean, fun match though. I don't want to be too critical of it. They're trying to make an impression, so
Kenny King nearly vegetated himself.
Smashed his face straight on the guardrail. That was absolutely brutal. That was.
Yeah, don't think he'll be trying that again. Right, so we also had the Joey Ryan Joseph Park match, which was so forgettable I wasn't even sure it existed while I was watching it. Anything else to add about it?
I didn't think it was that bad. I think the man behind the Joseph Park character and the Abyss character, I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the business for a long, long time, because he manages to entertain me anyway. With 2 completely different characters. You couldn't get any different from the 2 characters that he plays, and they're both equally as over.
Yeah,
I think he's very entertaining.
I do enjoy Joseph Park as a character, but I just wasn't a fan of this match. I mean, I think it could have been a bit shorter, but yeah.
It did drag on. You are right. Yeah.
We also had the knockouts match, which was basically an excuse for a referee angle, which Velvet Sky won, and then Taryn Terrell managed to lose all her hair extensions, it seems. But yeah, then we had the Robbie E versus Rob Terry match, which was so bad it made me an atheist.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, it wasn't good. Robbie T can't work a singles match to any decent standard, in my opinion.
He was released by WWE, wasn't he? At one point.
I'm not sure.
He definitely had some sort of trial with them, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, if WWE aren't going to sign or did release a guy who looked like that, you know he's not going to be good. So, I mean, yeah, that was just terrible. I hope they don't push him, for God's sake.
At least that's got Robbie E free from Robbie T. There's too many Robbies in this match, it's confusing. I think Robbie E's got a little bit of potential on his own, and Robbie T hasn't, so maybe it's the right move to split them up. But
having Rob Terry with him, though, was kind of what you needed to do with him. Just have him out of the way, not wrestling. So, yeah, there we go. And then also we had Angle just about carried Wes Briscoe to a respectable match, which, you know, Angle was in it at least.
Yeah.
Why was D'Lo Brown hiding up?
Yeah, I didn't understand
that. There's no DQ. Why is he hiding under the ring?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit strange, but
it's a good point, Himpy.
Yeah, didn't make much sense. There we go. So yeah, our overall thoughts on Lockdown then.
It wasn't great. It wasn't bad either. I think with your second pay-per-view of the year, it's got to be a little bit better than this. But the main event angle was good. The tag team match was good. The first match had some entertainment value. I think it was all right. It made me wonder where they'll go next with Bully Ray and the Hogans. So, it was all right.
Mm.
Big shows to come with the first TV tapings. So, or the first live shows on the road, sorry. So, wait and see where it goes from here. Good luck to them. I hope they succeed. But
so do I.
Yeah, so do I. I was really gutted that I didn't enjoy this. I thought at least the top matches would be pretty good, but yeah. Okay, Dan. I think there's another segment you want to introduce now.
What's that? Oh, are you talking about Himpy does some news?
I bloody well am. Yes.
Go on then, play that jingle.
Okay, here we go.
Himpy does some news. Himpy does some news. Himpy does some news. It's time to hear from Himpy.
It's going to take me a long while to adjust to that jingle. But anyway, let's start with carrying on from Lockdown. Actually, the announced attendance for TNA Lockdown is apparently the most attended event in company history. 6,700 is the official attendance.
Oh, really?
I'm a bit surprised by that number, to be honest, because I saw figures of 8,000 to 10,000 being thrown out there.
Yeah, I read figures of that as well. I think that's TNA papering over like what New Japan does for their big special show. I think it was nowhere near 10,000. Purely because apparently on the Ticketmaster ticket map, the arena was only set up for 7,500. So.
Just to cut in quickly, New Japan don't actually do that anymore. They stopped that from the last Wrestle Kingdom show. That was actually
Puro, don't you, Ryan?
Yes, I do.
I'm intrigued to know what the Wembley taping attendance was as well, because I'm pretty sure Wembley Arena can hold just under 10,000.
Yeah,
and they reckon that was pretty sold out, didn't they? So
it's either the first or the second ever Wembley Arena show was nearly 8,000, and I think that's more of a genuine figure than what was given last night. I think Wembley is still the highest attendance record. I think partly the reason they did it was because it doesn't look good when your highest attendance record is not even in the country that you operate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, that's good news anyway. It's a solid attendance for him. But
It is, definitely.
in contrast to the good news, anyway, reports have emerged about a change to the company's pay structure that the talent are apparently not at all pleased about. TNA will now be running one live show a week and taping a show every other week. But the talent will only be paid for one appearance, regardless of whether they work both shows. One news site has estimated that over 80% of the talent will now be losing money by TNA going on the road rather than taping Impact from Orlando. So
I think that's absolutely shitty of them to do that, especially when you got Hogan, who's probably paid by the step or something like that. It's just it's a real slap in the face for them.
Now, just a little update on Scott Hall. Obviously, we know that he's been spending time at DDP's house in Atlanta to try and change his life around, and it looks like he's making some real progress. He's now been clean and sober for 50 days, which is the longest he can remember, so that's great news.
It is indeed.
Very
I think,
good.
isn't he doing a charity campaign or something to get some money for some surgery?
He is. There's a fundraising project currently in progress. There's an $80,000 target, and with 27 days to go, the total is at $55,000 already.
He's walked that in.
That's excellent. Fingers crossed that he can finally turn his life around for good. And major praise to DDP as well for the work he's done with him. And Jake Roberts, of course.
He's turning into a massive legend in the wrestling business because he's doing more for ex-WWE talent than WWE's ever done.
Well,
I know
I
they
couldn't
pay
say
for
that.
medical bill, but that doesn't guarantee that they're going to sort themselves out. But DDP seems to really care about him.
Yeah.
And that's brilliant to see.
Yeah, brilliant by DDP. Great guy.
A little bit more bad news for the Hulkster too. Not only does he have to console poor Brooke, but TMZ has reported that Hogan has had his financial accounts hacked into. I think Ace's Nates have gone a bit far this time, to be honest. It's just getting a bit out of hand now, isn't it? No money's been stolen though, so it's not all bad news.
It's because he hasn't got any.
Sounds like I can make a new sign or something. Like I released a Hogan tape sign at the WWE Birmingham tapings. I can now have I hacked into Hogan's accounts or something like that now.
Perfect. There you go. And a nice little bit to end on. We have now hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Himpy's done the news. Himpy's done the news. Himpy's done the news. It's time to say bye-bye to Himpy.
Next week on the Danger Zone, we're going to discuss what we change in the Aces and Eights storyline. We want your thoughts on the matter too. Please tweet us at DZ Podcast and use the hashtag DZ10. That's DZ10 or DZ10 if you're English. And we'll read the best one out on air. This week in closing on the Danger Zone, we'd like to pay tribute to William Paul Bearer Moody, who sadly passed away this past week. One of the greatest wrestling characters ever, Bearer will be sorely missed. As well as a character being held in high regard, the man behind the makeup was too. My personal favourite memory of Bearer is when I had the pleasure of meeting him at WrestleMania Access last year. Not only did he pose for a picture and sign some autographs, he actually gave me one of his famous "Ooh, yes!" And it's a memory I'll cherish forever. We here at the Danger Zone close this week's podcast by saying thank you and rest in peace to Paul Bearer.
I've been in the danger zone.